Hey Space Cowboys, it's Seasonal Frostbite, and welcome back to Mothacrafta, the show where I show you why I'm a Mothacrafta. Alright, so in the last video, what we left off, we basically did some findings on water-soluble oil paints. And that gave me a lot more thinking. As you guys can see, the paint dried and we added another layer. So as I was asked on Instagram by the user, by apple.p13, they asked, does the sealant work okay on the oil paint? I heard it dries tacky or sticky. So here's the thing. Where does that come from? If you're a doll customizer and you're new to the community, or if you've been here for a while, we've all heard this rumor that MSC, or when you paint on vinyl dolls, that MSC will have a reaction with the oils or something, and it'll be a tacky and sticky layer. So a bunch of us customizers, a bunch of us doll makers from all over our doll community got together on Discord, and we pondered about it together. And here are our findings. So doing some research, if you look up for oils, the first thing when I think of oil paint, right? The first time I think of oil paint, I think of reborn doll artists, right? Because you can't get that lifelike, beautiful blendabilities and just beautiful details that they get with acrylics. I'm sorry, you probably could, but not as easy the way oils do. It gives you that lifelike quality. So I went and did my research. The first website I found was Thus. This is one of the only blogs that I can really think of that talks about oils on dolls, on vinyl. As you know, reborn artists will use vinyl. But it also talks about quality. Quality, honey. We've been talking about quality on this channel for years, and why it is important to have artist qualities. And cheaper paints, you never know what it's gonna do, and they reference it. So I found what I was looking for. Painting on Vinyl by freelycharmin.com. So I'm gonna go ahead and read. This is a brief history on reborn painting that I found. Like, thank you for this, because we really needed it. Okay. So it says, reborn artists use many different kinds of paints and colors to blush and tint the bodies of their vinyl dolls. Initially, they used acrylic craft paints and stamp pad inks. Eventually, ret dye. Lipstick colors, stencil paints, glass paints, also became popular for tinting and blushing. As I write this, the reborners have experimented with just about everything from the craft and art supply stores. Vinyl is an oil-based product, so you need to select paint or glue that would adhere to vinyl. Even if the product you apply today seems to work okay, within a matter of days or weeks, the vinyl can work against it and repel it. Acrylic-based paints didn't adhere well and had a tendency to flake off the vinyl, especially if the paint was thinned with water first, which is what they were doing with the reborn purple wash. I don't know what they're referencing, because I just don't. We don't do repaints here. We don't do reborn dolls. We don't do reborn dolls here, so we don't know what they're talking about. But we're just gonna keep it moving. Keep it pushing. Yes, acrylic paints are used for the popular fashion doll repaints. You can use acrylic paint on vinyl, but you should buy good quality artist acrylic paints and don't thin them with lots of water. We can all attest to that, can't we? Can we get an amen? Can we get an amen? Yes, we can. Okay. The acrylics are not suitable for blushing the reborn dolls or creating skin tones, but they are useful for eyebrows, fingernails, and lip color. Okay, now they're moving on to the oil paint advantages. Oil paints have been used on reborn dolls for a relatively short time, so there is a lot to be learned yet about the long-term effect of oil paints on vinyl dolls. This method of coloring vinyl is still experimental. However, I am excited about oil painting on vinyl because it seems that this method offers many advantages. Of course, you get selection and flexibility, transparent, light fast. I'm not gonna read all of that. I'm not gonna read all that part. Y'all can. The link is going in the description box below. You're welcome to go read it. Okay. So then they say practice first. The oil colors are so intense that if you've not used oil paints before, approach the doll cautiously and apply small amounts until you're comfortable with how the oil paints work on vinyl. We recommend safflower oil medium for thinning the oil paints. There are problems with any other kinds of oil mediums. Linseed oil has a tendency to turn yellow over time because it's linseed oil. That's what they do. It's old and traditional, but it yellows over time. This is not noticeable on a painting where only a very little amount of the oil has been used, but when making reborn dolls, we use a lot of oil to thin the color. Therefore, the yellowing could become very evident in a few years. Safflower oil medium does not yellow as it ages. Okay, says do not use cooking oil. There's those people out there, they're always looking for a come up somehow, but a come up ends up being like, really, stop cheapening your craft, okay? Stop cheapening it, okay? It says don't use cooking oil. Duh. But you know what? Sometimes we gotta say it. Like, somebody asked me on my doll shoe videos if they could use Play-Doh. I could fight you. I could. I really could. I really could. Stop. Okay. It also says don't use baby oil or lotion. I don't want to know what this person was going through in the reborn community. What was going on, girl? What was going on, boo boo? What was really happening in these groups? And I'm not even gonna read why. If you want to read why, they have their rants. Okay, I understand. I respect it. Let's see. One other concern about using non-drying oil on vinyl. Will the vinyl eventually destabilize and become mushy? This happened to early vinyl dolls from the 50s. Eventually, oil seeped from the vinyl, the dolls got sticky, and there was a general breakdown of the vinyl. Eventually, the dolls needed to be thrown away. Therefore, using a lot of oil on vinyl has some risk involved as well. We could actually ruin the vinyl with excess use of oil. Because the reborn methods are experimental, we don't know the long-term effect of these methods will have. Moderation is always the safest course. Having said that, how much safflower oil medium do you need to use? And they say not much. And so when I say what they're talking about, the breakdown, a lot of oil. So not too much medium. That's interesting. Okay, so they said not much. I dabbed a little oil into the paint until it was a consistency I liked, and then I used it makeup sponge to apply the mixture. The paint soaked into the special edition doll body I was using, and I didn't need to wipe any of it off. The blush colors will need more oil than the skin tone colors. Interesting. So now they're talking about, they have a list of different mediums. This one is liquid acrylic resin medium. I don't believe I'm saying that right, but again, read read what I'm reading, read the rest. You know I'm reading it to you like it's a story time. There's more to it, okay? It's what's that? Let me stop. Let's see. It is a liquid accolade, or Liquin is another brand, is an oil medium that accelerates the drying time. Liquid accolade, still don't know if I'm saying that right, helps to thin and transparentize the oil paint besides adding a drying agent. This sounds good, but the liquid accolade prevents the oil colors from soaking into the vinyl. So these people really want they're trying to make, I don't know what they're trying to do, but they're saying that the paint is going to rub into the vinyl. So now I'm just going to go ahead and move on. But here's one thing they'll say. Ordinarily, oil paints tend to bleed into the surrounding vinyl. So the doll's mouth ends up like you might get a Kool-Aid mustache. I don't know what they're talking about because I don't really understand what they're doing. I'm not going to finish. Move on. I'm going to move on. And then I'm going to add my 2 cents to this article. How to apply oil paints to vinyl. Squeeze a little of your oil paint colors into a palette or disposable plastic plate. Use a brush or palette knife to mix the colors as desired. Add sapphire oil to thin the paints as desired. I dabbed a little sapphire oil into the paint until it was a consistency I like. I didn't use a lot of oil because the Skoola paints are creamy and don't need a lot of thinning. The paint will take longer to dry if you add oil medium to it, so you don't want to use any more than necessary. You will probably add more sapphire oil to the brush colors. I'm just going to keep on going because then they're just talking about, let's just move on to the curing aspect of oils, which you don't know. Oils have to be cured, meaning they have to dry. Let the paint dry. Like, don't put anything on it until you're sure the paint's dry. It says, definitely allow time to cure the oil paint. If you use oil paints on vinyl dolls, the paint needs plenty of time to dry. And then it says it needs several weeks to cure before it takes 1 month, or it could take a month, days, for one rebuild for when you're using oil paints, which we all know about that. All right, so I don't think there's anything more there's to say. They have a reference to sealers and finishes, and it says, although a sealer may not be necessary, it's probably a good idea to put some kind of protectant on your doll, but don't apply any sealers until your doll is completely finished, thoroughly dry, and cured. And make sure you're completely done with the doll. Once a sealer is applied, it will work against you if you make additional modifications. So there we go. So it says, we recommend several sealers for vinyl dolls. Low gloss silicone is possibly our favorite for sealing the body. Never heard of that before. It's interesting. It says silicone is possibly our favorite for sealing the body. Okay. Acrylic type sealers are good for lips and fingernails. And it says click here to learn about our favorite sealers and finishing. And now the big thing that I actually appreciate this, and I will actually agree with this as well. Because oil paint is not for everybody. It's not for everybody, girl. Some people don't want to deal with that. And that is completely okay. But if it is for you, why not? It says we don't recommend using the oil paints for fingernails, eyebrows, nail polish, lips. It is better to use glass paint for the lips, acrylics, facial features. Oil paints tend to soak into the vinyl and spread out. Okay. There's also a lot of disclaimer and all kinds of stuff. So here's my 2 cents on these water-soluble oils. Now, while water-soluble oils are different from traditional oils, they are still, in fact, oil paint. It's still oil paint, girl. It's still oil paint, okay, boo-boo? It's oil paint, but because we're using a different type of, we're using water to thin the paint instead of like a medium, it behaves similar. It just behaves a little bit differently. You're not going to dissolve any layers, because if you're using that good mineral spirits, MSC just gets, she gone, boo. She gone. She's gone. She ain't there no more. She's not here to play. All right. So we're gonna combine what these guys know about the oil paints on vinyl and what I've discovered through my first test. I've already shown you guys the update. So what I found was there's no tacky layer. And I'm not gonna say all watercolor oil paints. We're not gonna test all oil paints, and we're not gonna test all water-soluble paints. What you know is that I'm using whole blend water-soluble oil paints, and we know that the dolls, she likes it. We know so far that there's no tacky layers so far. It's been about a week. The paint dried, and now we're waiting for the second layer to dry. And I'll be updating this I'll check in every once in a while to update you guys on the doll, because that is what Periwinkle asked me to do, and because it seems like we need a good documentation of this in general. But from what I know, we know whole blend is good to work on the dolls, and whole blend she looked good. She plays well with Mr. Hobby. That must be her boo-boo. Okay, that must be her boo-boo, because they play well together. They flirting. They're in a flirtationship right now. So when they get out of the situationship, then we'll okay it. But so far, it looks promising. It looks very, very promising. So where does the phenomenon come from that MSC will get tacky if you paint oil paints on it? Where does that come from? Luckily, in the doll making group that I'm in on Discord, that's the BJB part of our little community. Go ahead and read you what they said, and because we were just sitting around having a little powwow, about where this come from. I said, where does this come from? I remember it had something, but I don't remember it specifically. And it's kind of like everybody in the community has been playing a giant game of telephone, you know what I mean? First, the original statement happened, and then each time we've repeated in the community, it changed just a little bit different. And here is what I found. Actually, it's that classic oils break down resin because of how it's comprised, and since it eats the surface layers, it stains and eventually leads to issues over years. The resin, baby. Resin. The ball jointed doll community has spoken. It was resin where we get that tacky layer that we're talking about. If anything, here's the thing. It's the resin that is having the issue with MSC, not MSC itself. So that makes me come to other questions. Would the oil paints that I use on a regular, could I use MSC up underneath? I'm not too sure. I'm not even sure if I care to find out. To be completely honest, I'm happy with what I got now, and the water-soluble oils. If you want to check out whole blend, definitely go ahead and check them out if you're interested. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I've been wondering about this question for years. All of us in our customizing and doll making community had this misconception, and I just wanted to know. Just like we had the misconception that you cannot use colored pencils on your dolls, and logically, even to me, that didn't make sense. Turns out you can, but again, the key to everything working on your dolls, there's two things, no matter what it is. One is artist quality. Please, baby, get you some artist quality. Go to the Blick, go to Jackson's, go to Jerry's Autorama, wherever you go that they sell good stuff. Go there, ask questions. So artist quality, light fastness, all that good stuff. 2, a good base. Now, There are so many MSC replacements, but the ones that we know that work is 1, Mr. Super Tooth Boo Boo. Super Tooth by Color Fix. 2, matte varnish from Liquitex. But there's a whole array out there, guys. There's so many things that you can try. You can try pastel ground, watercolor ground, things that give you tooth. You can try gesso. There's so many things. And what I do know about oils is there is a misconception about oils that you can only paint on canvas. That's actually not true. As long as you have a good base, meaning a good barrier layer, a good protection layer, good protection layer, girl, good protection. I don't know what I'm doing. As long as you have a good protective layer, you can use oils. Just about anything. You can use oils on wood, you can use oils on canvas, fabric, glass, and all kinds of stuff. But you need to have the right primer. So, to answer this question that we were on Instagram, will MSC get tacky over time? In theory, no. So far, I made sure in this video, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it further. But so far, no, there's no sticky layers. There's none of this chemical reaction that we had, especially since we are finding out that this had nothing to do with vinyl at all. It had nothing to do with vinyl at all. It was the resin. And even so, we can't ask the question, were they using a strong base? Were they using a strong base, girl? We have to ask these questions, because one of the things that I want to get away from us doing, let's get away from just accepting things as fact, right? When I say that, let's use more critical thinking in our choice of why we're doing something. I don't like to be told I can't do something for literally you just can't do that. I want to know why. So it would be really, really cool if further down the line we recreate these conditions so we know for sure that this happens. And I want to be very, very clear that there's different types of vinyls, there's different types of resin, there's different types of oils, there's different types of bases. So no matter what you use to get to the end result, as long as it holds up, it's light fast, it's got you using a good quality, it holds up to play and photos and being outside for photos, it doesn't matter what you use. Personally, I really liked the oils. I really like it. But as somebody who uses oils for my canvases, I might just stay it for that. I just might use it for my canvases and my portraits. But I bought these specifically for dolls, and I am willing to do the test. And the reason why is because sometimes I just need a little juice, a little something, a little juice. But I want to tell you specifically that Mothacrafta is a love letter to the newbie, a love letter to the advanced doll maker, the advanced customizer, a love letter to you, my audience. All your questions answered with proof, with explanations, scientific theories, and this is for you. This is for you to make a decision on what you want to use when you go and create something awesome. And I want you guys to know that this is what this entire thing is for. It is for you, not for me. I don't really care about who's right or who's wrong. I just want information amongst all doll communities to be shared. I mean, literally, this misconception started with the ball jointed doll community, supposedly, and yet it moved on to the reborn dolls, and it moved on to the fashion doll and other doll customizing communities. And it's so funny that if we all spoke to each other and came together as a community, we would have known this ahead of time. So I thought it was great that together as a community, we came to this conclusion. Without your help, this video wouldn't be possible. All right, I'm done being mushy. Let's get on with talking about our full face up that I promised you guys last week. And listen, the background that was been going on, she looks terrible. I get it. Let's start over. I just like to use this. I got to use this footage as the background while I was talking about the misconceptions. So let's move on, wipe that face. And I decided that I'm going to use Mr. Super Tooth as my background layer this time because I thought it'd be a cool variable in between the two dolls. Since it's so ironic, I used the same doll head, but it's a different doll head. You get it? It's this. You get it. So I just wanted a little bit more tooth. And you guys know Super Tooth has a great amount of tooth, and I was too lazy. Not really too lazy. It's a mess in my studio downstairs, and I cannot find a makeup sponge to save my life. And Lord knows I'm not pulling out my airbrush to spray on Mr. Super Tooth. So I just wiped it on thick because most of this stuff is just going to be covered with the oil paints. And this is going to help us over time to kind of see how flexible this is going to be once it dries. And I'm just painting. And go ahead and enjoy this music, and we're going to chill for a bit.
ISO Wendy's, where y'all from?
ISO, Indies. Yeah, live free, speak your peace. Stay humble in these streets, yeah. In these streets. Let's go. Playground parks with the trees and the cars. Brownstone buildings with the kids on the porch. Murals on the walls for the ones that we lost. Bodegas on the corner, let me see what's in store. Subway stations with the maps in the cars. Summer cookouts, uncle got the sandals on. Statue of Liberty, we holding up the torch. If they ask where I'm from, tell them this is New York.
We from the home of the biggie, people blowing they ciggies. And these girls going wild cause they flashing they this litty. Watch your steps cause these blocks be. We grew up on that bad boy in 96 with Diddy. Take a walk, come with me. Let me show you what really go down. Fiends on the corner, every hood got a deli or crowns. Cops pull us over, it don't matter if you black or you brown. City never sleeps, this the place that where hip hop was found.
Playground parks with the trees and the cars. Brownstone buildings with the kids on the porch. Murals on the walls for the ones that we lost. Bodegas on the corner, let me see what's in store. Subway stations with the maps in the cars. Summer cookouts, uncle got the sandals on. Statue of Liberty, we holding up the torch. If they ask where I'm from, tell them this is New York. I look around as I'm viewing the city. Skyscrapers and bridges, bright lights, fast life, Manhattan living. Cross over downtown, welcome to the concrete. The Nets to Barclays, the Mets to Yankees. Ubers and yellow taxis. And while I'm fitted with some butters, we heard savvy when tight jeans was baggy. From JFK to LaGuardia, city that never sleeps, insomnia. Home of Junior Mafia, word. Playground parks with the trees and the cars. Brownstone buildings with the kids on the porch. Murals on the walls for the ones that we lost. Bodegas on the corner, let me see what's in store. Subway stations with the maps in the cars. Summer cookouts, uncle got the sandals on. Statue of Liberty, we holding up the torch. If they ask where I'm from, tell them this is New York. Brooklyn, BK all day, BK all day, we go hard.
Stress free, let it be. God got a bigger plan for you and me. Let peace stress free and let it
getting a feel for the paint as well, and really just enjoyed how it looked, even though it's not as sharp and as pointy as I want in details. But with practice, I definitely can see myself getting much better at this. Miniature has its own little, its own little learning curve, to be honest. looking at this up close, it looks like a nightmare from like Cats or something. I don't know, but I'm still enjoying myself, and since this is just a test, nothing serious, I'm really enjoying just playing around with the oil paint here, and I'm just putting on layers to get a different skin tone, because why not? Let's try it out. Also, don't want to go downstairs and get my pastels, so we're gonna try this out as a skin tone, see if we can do it some justice. Finding with dark skin tones that you still need a base, even though it's very, very pigmented, and that's a little disheartening, but you know, we kind of knew that it works no matter how pigmented even our pastels are. To get those good color payoffs, we still need a white base half the time, but at least the white paint was very, very pigmented, and it covered basically the undertone of Claudine's face. But you know, it's not as creepy as I thought it was going to be. And I know I promised you guys a bit of my I promised you guys a picture of the reference photo, but I'm just gonna skip it out. I've been working on this video for hours and I need a break and I don't feel like it. So if you want to see it, leave a comment below, and the next Mothacrafta, I'll just throw it up somewhere. If not, you know, literally the doll looks exactly like the reference, so I don't, yeah, blah. Moving on. All right, that's enough out of me. If you like this video, go ahead and like this video. Please comment, rate, and subscribe. And hey, I actually read your comments, so definitely if you have a question, please leave it down there below. And guys, remember, I make these videos for you. I make these videos for that new person who's coming into the hobby, who really just want to know about supplies, techniques, and all of that. And I'm giving you this information because I want this hobby to grow, and mainly because I would not be here if it wasn't for people sharing their information, if it wasn't for the No Nap Time blog, if it wasn't for people making videos. And people don't make detailed videos like they used to, okay? So this video is for you. This series is for you. Anyways, remember, go out into the world and create something awesome. If you don't, you're gonna carry that weight. See you, Space Cowboy.
Cool, baby. Cool, baby. Baby, maybe I love you. Cool, baby. Cool, baby. Maybe I